Good evening and welcome to Washington Week. Despite the Trump administration's enthusiastic efforts to deflect attention away from Signalgate and the extraordinary security breach it represents, they're doing this mainly by calling me unpleasant names, Senate leaders of both parties are calling for an investigation, and National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, who first included me in the Signal group, and Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth are both facing calls to resign. Joining me tonight to discuss this controversy, Peter Baker, the chief White House correspondent at the New York Times. Laura Barone-Lopez is the White House correspondent for PBS NewsHour. Susan Glasser is a staff writer at The New Yorker. And Shane Harris covers the intelligence agencies for The Atlantic. So, hi. Hi. Nice to see all of you. Thank you for being here. It's a little bit of an unusual show, but we're just going to act like it's not. Thank you for all having your phones with you. I want them visible at all times. Let's start by talking about the consequences, the serious national security consequences of this issue. And I want to start with Shane, who can probably lead us through better than almost anyone what this means for security and safety in the national security realm.
Yeah, well, first off, there's the question of how in the world did this happen, that these top-level officials thought it was a good idea to be planning a military operation on a commercial phone app, which is one reason I think that both of us thought in the beginning that this couldn't possibly be real. So there's real concerns about that.
Not just in the beginning, like
well,
right up to the
right up to the end, until the kind of the
right
moment
up to the thing,
yeah. But look, there's not just because, Signal is fine as an end-to-end encrypted app, but if your phone is compromised, if there's a hacker on there, we know, by the way, that J.D. Vance's phone has been compromised by Chinese intelligence, and he was part of the Signal group, Signal group. So there are huge concerns about that, putting this kind of information into a form that it can be intercepted and used. And look, it is painfully obvious now to everyone involved that it is quite easy to add someone to that group who shouldn't be there. This is precisely why, usually, conversations like this happen in a secure facility on classified government networks so that you can't inadvertently add Jeff Goldberg, to the conversation. There's a big, that's a huge issue. And frankly, a lot of the conversation that was happening about trying to stick Europe with the bill is going to have diplomatic repercussions. There are insights now into divisions within the administration over the policy wisdom of attacking the Houthis, which is not going to be a one-off, and those kinds of divisions could persist. In 25 years of covering national security, I have never seen anything approximating this story. It is just replete with security and policy risks. And now the explanation for it is, well, there was nothing really to see here. This was all somehow normal. I presume there are conversations like this going on other apps, and there have been probably for some time in this administration.
Right. Laura, were you surprised that they were using, you cover this administration, were you surprised that they were using Signal to talk about really sensitive stuff?
Yes. I know that Signal has become something that's used a bit more amongst government officials, although there's questions about whether it should be used, period, because of the records-keeping laws that are
go
in
into
place.
that. What does that mean?
Well, just that, there's supposed to be records kept of official government communications, and Signal text can disappear. You can set it on the app to disappear as early as an hour or seconds after you send a text message on that app to a week afterwards. And I believe in your group chat that you were involved in, it was set to about a week.
Yeah.
So
a week, and then they changed it to, Mike Waltz changed it to 4 weeks.
Yeah. To 4 weeks.
Which
so
I didn't understand.
But I mean, that's also what is at the heart of the lawsuit right now that they're facing, which is that they need, and they were ordered by a judge to preserve these documents.
Right. Peter, go back to this question of, you've been covering both of you have been covering foreign policy issues for a long time. Is there any controversy analogous to this? Any kind of just sort of like, I guess not to put too fine a point on it, dumb mistake like this? Assuming it's a dumb mistake.
There are, you're right. Look, there have been screw-ups in Washington since time immemorial, but I can't think of one quite like this. It's really something, because there are multiple levels, right? There is the decision to use Signal in the first place for something so sensitive, and then, of course, the question of who they happen to add to it. And congratulations on being added. Every journalist in town hates Jeff Goldberg this week because it wasn't us. But the truth is...
Every journalist and Mike Waltz.
And Mike Waltz, right.
Yeah.
But the truth is, it's very unlikely this was the first time that they were using Signal. It just happened to be the first time they added Jeff Goldberg, right? So it raises the questions we're talking about, like how much have they been doing this? What kinds of conversations have they been doing? Have they preserved the records? And who else has been listening? If they didn't add Jeff Goldberg on these previous calls, who did get added?
Right. I just want to say to the viewers at home, anybody who wants to add me to their sensitive Signal chat, please feel free. Susan,
or any of us.
or any of our panel, any of our
Try
guests.
something new.
Yeah. Don't go with
Jeff is busy.
Don't go with the old hat. So I want to talk about secrecy. Susan, why don't you start us off, actually? But I obviously want to hear from everyone, including Shane. When is something secret and when it's not? And put it in the context of their response to this issue.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, anyone who's been watching Donald Trump and those surrounding him for the last 8 years probably weren't surprised that their default setting was to attack the journalists, the people who brought you enemies of the people and fake news. A badge of honor for you, Jeff, that, they immediately started impugning your integrity and attacking you.
Not my first
in
rodeo, not yours
grotesque
and yours and
terms.
yeah.
Well, we've all had the pleasure at one point or the other of, being personally savaged by the President of the United States. Not something any of us probably expected when we were growing up. But to your point about their excuse, what's really interesting is that they moved, that wasn't enough. And you had the receipts, so they moved very quickly to, don't believe your lying eyes, which is another thing in the Donald Trump playbook, right? Which is like that thing that you just saw, never mind. The attack on the U.S. Capitol on January 6th, actually, it was a totally peaceful, excellent protest. In fact, he's now talking just this week, side note, on paying reparations to those poor people who stormed our Capitol and violently attacked it. Right. But I think this is of a piece with that, right? So they immediately went to, don't believe your lying eyes. They sent the CIA director, the director of national intelligence up to swear under oath on Capitol Hill, no classified information. And I think that's the conversation that we're having now that's interesting. All you guys have a perspective on that. In Washington, even for them, it's pretty shameless. I mean, Shane, I can't remember a moment where they would say something like this.
Yeah, wait, Shane, before you jump in, I don't want, just watch Tulsi Gabbard for a second at the hearing on Tuesday.
Yeah.
I have not participated in any Signal group chat or any other chat on another app that contained any classified information.
Right. It's absurd. Like the line that they are pursuing, that what was in that chat, and we've all seen it now, was not classified, doesn't even pass the smell test. You can literally look at the DOD and the IC regulations that are public, where they give nice descriptions of the kinds of information that is presumptively secret or top secret. A lot of stuff in that chat matches that. Information is classified based on how severe the damage would be if it were released. So you have secret information, top secret information. As you go up the ladder, the classification corresponds to the damage that would do if it fell into the hands of your adversaries or to the public. So by saying the information is not classified or is unclassified, what these officials would have you believe is that all of this could be made public and there'd be no consequence. We talked about this, in the course of reporting the story. Had that information fallen into the hands of a U.S. adversary that had been in the group, or had you been a less scrupulous journalist and tweeted it, that information would then be known to the Houthis, who would be able to prepare defenses and a counterattack that absolutely would jeopardize the lives of U.S. forces.
And you can believe that you have been attacked for jeopardizing those forces.
100%.
Well, I mean, that was not,
charged.
and this is a conversation that Shane and I and others at the Atlantic had. It's like the last thing that we want to do. Maybe this is controversial in some quarters. It's not controversial with me. The last thing we ever would want to do is put Americans in harm's way by putting out information about a tactical issue.